Hey guys, welcome back to Critical Flick. Today I'm reviewing Turtles All the Way Down, now streaming on Max. This film is the newest adaptation of a John Green book, and I have to say, as someone who grew up reading his novels, I really appreciated this adaptation. It's one of my favorite books of his, and I really love the ability to bring this story to the big screen and represent the troubles of our main character in a very interesting and compelling visual way. Tells the story of our main character, Aza, who struggles with mental illness ever since the loss of her father. She struggles from OCD, particularly related to her health and the understandings of the inner workings of her body. And one of the best things, like I mentioned, is kind of how they visualize her inner thoughts and her inner monologue, showing the bacteria she's thinking of in her mind moving around, the flashing, the inner voice telling her that she's going to be sick, she's going to get these infections, and she can't really go out and do the things that she wants to do, and that she's not in control of her own actions. And I think the idea of showing this kind of struggle in a visual way is really interesting. It really helped me as the audience understand what she was going through. And at its core, this movie really is kind of a coming-of-age young adult story about her trying to navigate her relationships and her friendships and kind of become her own person while overcoming maybe some of her inner struggles. And also interwoven within that is kind of a mystery about a missing person, which I will say, I think that part of the movie isn't really fully fleshed out, but that really isn't the crux of the story. This isn't really what this is about. It's about this individual trying to discover who she is and trying to, like I said, connect with the people around her and understand the world that she's navigating through with her own personal demons. Isabella Merced gives a phenomenal performance in this one. I think it's the one thing that really elevates this film beyond being kind of the standard run-of-the-mill young adult story or kind of an adaptation of a John Green novel. And I think it's something that I really am interested to see her progress moving forward as an actress. We had seen her previously in a couple works, particularly Madam Web, that weren't really fantastic films, but I was glad to see her get her footing and really get an opportunity to show a fully fleshed out and emotional performance. There are many scenes in this film where she's trying, like I said, to struggle with her own mental health, and I think she does a really good job of expressing that both through really quiet and somber moments where she's reflecting upon herself and also larger outbursts where she's trying to really connect with people and let them understand how she's feeling. But that struggle, that combat of her inner thoughts and her outward world, I think work really well. I think she did a really good job. While the film is obviously really focusing on the themes of mental health, there's also stories about love. There's stories about friendships. I think there's a little bit for everyone in this one. Rich Aquino plays Daisy in the film, who brings kind of a bubbly, over-the-top energy to this story, while you have another character, like I said, in Aza, who's really struggling to express who she is as a person. So I think that chemistry of those two together and kind of balancing each other out really makes for heartwarming moments at times, and also has, like I said, some conflict. This movie does have a little bit of kind of that John Green nature where there are some huge moments that happen throughout the film that maybe seem kind of ridiculous and kind of wild, but I think that they do work with moving the story forward, even if they do seem kind of almost out of place at times. And as a big fan of John Green, I fully appreciate kind of the criticism of his novels and of the films where maybe teenagers wouldn't speak like this. The writing is so poetic and it can be very beautiful at times, and obviously you don't feel like someone of this age would be speaking in that way, but I do think it's a way of translating kind of the inner thoughts of these characters to the audience. Maybe you wouldn't hear people speaking in, great metaphor and poetry like they do in this movie and they do in, his previous films, but as an audience member, I think it really resonated particularly with me trying to express those emotions in, like I said, somewhat beautiful way. I personally think the dialogue is really well written and delivered, if not, like I said, just a little unrealistic. They also did a good job of executing Aza's relationship with Davis, a character who also suffered a loss, and they have that connection to each other, the idea of being two broken people coming together to make each other whole. Like a lot of previous works from Green, this movie will tug at your heartstrings, but I don't feel like it's manipulative. I have seen previous films and read pretty much all of his books, and I will say that it is fully understandable that you would think something like maybe The Fault in Our Stars can be somewhat manipulative. It's really, really trying to make you sad, and it's really trying to make you cry at times. I don't think this movie feels like it's doing that. I don't feel like the novel does either. It's trying to express the idea of what it's like to deal with this kind of illness and what it's like to try and, progress. Also navigating the world of a young adult who's going through these things. Judy Reyes plays Aza's mom in this film, and I mostly know her from the show Scrubs, and I think she also gives a really solid performance. She doesn't have a ton of screen time, but there is a couple moments, particularly in the third act, where she's trying to connect with her daughter and play a parent that is struggling to navigate the idea of losing their partner but helping to support their child. And I think that scene was one of the more powerful in the film. Even though the film focuses a lot on her friendships and her relationships, it really does a good job of showing that parent-child relationship. A lot of young adult films kind of skirt away from the parents or make them seem kind of like side characters, but this one did bring her in to create a really important focal moment moving forward with our main character's life. Hannah Marks as the director, I think, brings a lot of energy to this film that could easily be very somber and very difficult to watch, but it brings, like I said, kind of a kinetic energy that moves the story along very quickly. At just under 2 hours long, I never felt like it was slow. It really kept the pace while moving the story along, but never feeling too jumbled. And I think the soundtrack of this film actually also helps the energy of it. It uses some upbeat pop music to really help elevate the highs of the film, while using some more somber tones to bring us to our lows, because this film does have quite a juxtaposition at times, like a lot of young adult films and John Green works, that have some really high highs and some really low lows. So I think it helps with balancing that out and help relate to the audience and create that setting for them. So overall, if I were to rate Turtles All the Way Down, I would give it an 8 out of 10. It might not be my favorite John Green adaptation, but it definitely is up there, and I loved seeing it put up there on the screen. And I think everyone involved did a really good job of adapting it from book to screen. So if you check this one out, let me know what you thought about it. I always love to hear people's opinions, and let me know what your favorite John Green book is, and what's your favorite John Green either television show or movie. I think my personal favorite is probably still, I really enjoyed Looking for Alaska. I know that may not be everybody's favorite, but it's my favorite book. So I liked the book and also the television show they created from it. But this one I think was also very solid. So let me know your thoughts. I always love to hear people's opinions, especially when they're different from mine. So remember to leave those down below. Thanks for watching. Remember to like and subscribe. And see you guys next time.